Hi, good morning. I am literally locked in my bedroom, hiding out from my family. My kids are playing loudly with their cousins right now, so if you hear that in the background, that's what it is. Hopefully nobody will try to break down my door. But I wanted to come on here because it's Thursday and it's 10 a.m. and I just wanted to say I have so much gratitude this year for all of the things that have happened and for all of the wonderful people in my life who have been so supportive with the book and Girls on the Run and just, all of this freedom that I have had from being in a dieting mentality that has really, allowed me to use that time to do something productive like write a book or my newsletters or, really the business itself. So I'm very grateful for that, and I hope you are all having a wonderful day. But we all know that Thanksgiving and really the holidays in general, we can deal with a lot of diet talk from friends, from family, from coworkers. And it can get really, really tedious. I mean, it's something, if you choose not to get wrapped up in it this year, there's got to be, you have to have some strategies involved when you're dealing with people who are, talking all the time about, do you know how many calories are in that slice of pie or that glass of wine, or like, oh, this is so bad for you or so bad for me, and all of that guilt that people have when they are eating food that is enjoyable and in this kind of day, like it brings up a lot of emotions, or the people who sort of think about like, oh, I did a 5K this morning, so I earned my turkey, or how many sit-ups am I going to have to do to work off this whatever, like it's just constant. And so I wanted to give you a few strategies to deal with this talk today and going on through the new year when all of the talk changes to New Year's resolutions. That's a whole other subject. But for now, I would say if you feel comfortable being a little more confrontational, depends on who the person is, the first thing I would say is just speak your mind and say, you know what, I am focusing on my health right now, and that means no diet talk. And if somebody says, well, diet is health, this isn't a diet, this is a healthy lifestyle, whatever they want to say in return, just remind them and remind yourself that dieting is the #1 predictor of weight gain. So really what you're doing is you're giving up on the guarantee that you will probably gain weight in the future. So when you want to, it's a way for you to think and remind yourself that what you are doing when you're giving up on the food restriction and the guilt and all of that, and you're really sort of embracing intuitive eating, that is the healthiest thing you can do for your body. And you're doing it out of self-care. So you can talk about intuitive eating with people who might, you think might be interested. I don't feel like I have a lot of people in my family who want to hear me go on and on about intuitive eating, and that's totally fine. But, practice some phrases that you can say to really shut it down around you. Like, I hear that you're really into your new diet, but can we talk about something more meaningful? Or, the only food you should feel guilty about is food that you've stolen from a store, because there's no bad food and there's no good food. It's, food should be enjoyable in balance and, what else? So, those are things you can say to really kind of shut down the diet talk, or just say, today's a day I want to enjoy myself today, so let's not talk about it. The other thing you could do is, it's a little more lighthearted, not quite as confrontational, but gets the job done, which I like to do, which is just sort of like, shh, not in front of the children. And even if there's no children around, that way you can, you can laugh it off, but it's also a way of kind of implying that what they're talking about is a little like inappropriate and, insane, and not something that you would want to have children hear, because people tend to be able to like agree on the fact that maybe we shouldn't be talking about calories and food guilt and body image around kid. Like, I think people kind of unite a little bit more when it comes to children. So that's a funny, you know, a little lighthearted one you can do, which is like, shh, not in front of the children. The other way is just practice a few things that you can do to just completely change the subject. Learn, you know, look up some weird facts on the internet, or, you know, if you could just, something that you've rehearsed a little bit so that you know, you can say on the spot, you know, how's the new job, or, you know, what are you most looking forward to today? Or you can just be like, weird random facts. Like, did you know that a duel between two people, or between three people, is actually called a truel? Did you know that the #1 color of toilet paper in France is actually pink, not white? Did you know that sunsets on Mars are actually blue? You know, these are all things that you can just like totally change the subject and derail people, and you don't feel so confrontational. The other word that I remember reading this in a Huffington Post article, which was like, the one word you can always use to change the subject is anywho, you know, and just kind of like wander off, find another room, and, you know, just get out of it. There's plenty of, you know, ways for you to escape conversations. So that's another one, is just change the subject and be prepared, and find, you know, interesting, lighthearted ways that you can just, you know, say, okay, anyway, on to something that's a little more important, like weird facts about our, you know, Mars. And the thing that works the best for me is when you're in a situation like that, especially, you know, I was at a baby shower recently, and everybody was talking about, oh, I don't normally eat this many cookies, and you know, like anytime you're in a situation where you're around people and they're starting talking about food, I like to just pretend that I am an anthropologist or an alien visiting humans for the first time, you know, Dr. Spock, and really just kind of sort of remove myself mentally from the conversation and look at them without judgment, but just sort of, you know, cock my head and say, fascinating. It's fascinating that everybody is so obsessed with this topic. I wonder why that is. And, you know, just really kind of you remove yourself from it, and just in that mental way, and say, I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to listen. Fascinating. So try it. And, you know, this could also work with politics or any other kind of weird conflicts that you might have with your family or friends or coworkers. Just, you know, and just say, whatever they end up saying, just say, fascinating, and then move on. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is can be really, really difficult, which is when you see people, especially relatives that you haven't seen in a long time, and the first thing everybody does is comment on your physical appearance. So when you're actively dieting and you may have lost weight from the last time they see you, they say, wow, you look great, you look wonderful. And then when you're not, or you've gained weight, there's just nothing. And sometimes knowing that they haven't said you look great is basically worse than anything else. And, you know, and that can be a real struggle. It's really hard to hear people actively not mention how great you look, because we rely so heavily on that. So I would say twofold. I would say yourself, practice complimenting people on something that has nothing to do with physical appearance when you first see them. Because we get, we just, as a culture, and are so wrapped up in commenting on each other's physical appearance. And so one thing I would say is practice your own way of complimenting somebody that has nothing to do with physical appearance. Like, I'm so happy to see you, or I've missed you, or I'm so glad that you're here, you know, like all of these ways that you can kind of compliment somebody and show them that you're happy to see them without saying, wow, you look great, or nice outfit, you know, like really kind of be mindful of how often we go to the physical. And then on the flip side, when it comes to somebody saying or not saying, making comments about your physical appearance, which I think can be really difficult, I would say just remember that the reason why you're mentally here in this place of wanting to get rid of, get out of the dieting mentality and to get out of the yo-yoing is really you investing in your health. And hey, thanks, Carrie. Happy to see you. Happy Thanksgiving. So anyway, yeah, so what was I talking about? I broke my concentration. What I try to do is I try to remember what I felt like mentally being in that state and how much it meant to me and how, really it felt like a prison. I kind of remind myself, like, if I want to go back to that size, think of all the things I have to do to get back to that size, and I've decided it's not worth it, and that I really want to invest in my true health. And so prepare, that's the best thing to do, is really just prepare yourself for the fact that you might be triggered, and what is a way that you can show yourself some self-care in this kind of situation. So those are my quick tips for dealing with diet talk in general over the holidays. But I think, like I said, you can also apply it to work or any friendships or, any conversations around the holidays that tend to focus on the guilt of overindulging or the desire to work off whatever food you're eating or earning food. It drives me crazy. Just, again, really step back and just be like, it's fascinating that people think this way. And be grateful for the fact that you are taking a step out of this thought paradigm and making a real shift and making real changes in your own health and wellness. So there we go. Have a very happy Thanksgiving and a wonderful weekend, and I will see you here next week. Okay, bye.